o'clock here, and I just ran down and got some quick dinner and thought I'd come up here and then share some time with you. Welcome to the Christmas edition of our Heaven is Home tour as we get together and have an evening live stream here. Good to have you here. I'm decorating the tree right now and having a pretty good time of getting that together too. And enjoying also, believe it or not, well, there's Miss Lisa, and thank you so much for joining me, Lisa. I appreciate it. I was just saying I was getting together my mug of chocolate here, getting all of it together. I had some on the way up. I ran down to the farmhouse. I was recording all afternoon, ran down to the farmhouse, and then got myself a cup of soup and also a little bit of cocoa, and I'm good to go for this while. And Lisa, thank you so much for being here. That really means a lot. And let me tell you something here. I'm not sure if I want to tell a little bit, but I want to thank Miss Lisa for her generosity in helping out with the ministry. Tomorrow is Giving Tuesday, and I think Miss Lisa has done something very, very kind here. And Miss Lisa, I'm going to ask if you will allow me to let people see what you've done, and I don't have to, but you let me know on there, okay? But thank you so very, very much. Marie, good evening to you. Penny, good evening to you. DP, you get that mug of coffee out there or that mug of hot chocolate, and let's roll this evening too. Blessed that you are here, Red and Sandy. I appreciate you so very much. Johnny, you take care of what you got to take care of, and you take and you'll be fine here. Thank you so much for your care and your help here. And then Southwest Florida, where it's much warmer than up here, Karen is here. We've got also Elvis is in the building. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. Christina, also, thank you for helping out. And there there's Lisa giving us some rules and let me know. Okay, Lisa says it's okay. I want to show you what happened. We have been in need, and bearing in mind, let me move our Charlie Brown tree over a little bit here. We have been in need of a number of things in our ministry. It's been growing, as you might see. On TikTok, we are undergoing a very steady growth we hadn't seen in months, and it's going very, very well. But I wanted to share something with you here. On this, we have some different financial needs. As I said, our car, I just came back from Tennessee. I'm hearing a rattling in the back. I got to take it in on Thursday. And also our laptop, we're having a need on here. One of the chargers broke. We're having some spotty use from it. But also I need a new microphone for our podcasting. We're taking a step up in our podcasting because it's been growing very, very strong too. And I had made mention on there, one of the things that we needed was a microphone. Well, guess what Miss Lisa sent? I haven't even opened it up yet. Lisa, God bless you. Thank you so much. This will go into use tomorrow morning on our very first podcast with a brand new microphone. And thank you. This is very kind of you. And I want you to know on this, I'm going to send you a receipt for this, and so that you might be able to receive credit on your tax deductions, okay? So thank you so very, very much. Very much needed, and boy, this is really nice. Lisa, very humble lady there, but I appreciate her help. And she's coming on here and helping with moderating as well. Then I'm over in Rebel Coffee to remind me about going down to Louisiana this coming spring, heading down there. As a matter of fact, really early spring, late winter, I'll be going down there. And so once again, our dear friend from Rebel Roasters, Mr. Ed, he sent me something to remind me and get me through the months here. And he sent me some coffee, some Camellia City Blend. That's the name, the nickname of Slidell, Louisiana. Wonderful smell. Ed, thank you so much. And he sent me some and gave a little history of why the city became known as Camellia City. And that's something else too. But I'm telling you what, we have such a great time when we're in Slidell. We meet in Ed's home. He and his wife are dear host and hostess, and we have people coming over and just firing it. And on top of that, they give us either jambalaya or they give us gumbo, depending on the time that I come here, and it's just wonderful. So thank you so much, Ed. That very, very kind of you. And so we're up and rolling tonight on this evening edition. We will have a Q&A time. I've got two things I want to bring to you tonight. I'll give you just a few of announcements. We'll get right into it. Tomorrow, as I said, is Giving Tuesday. And it's just a reminder for help. And then as I'm going and we're doing work here in our ministry here, as I travel and help out different churches from Colorado to the Carolinas, the Appalachian area, on down into Alabama. And we go on, and in many of these churches, they cannot afford to have a speaker. And so I go, and it's based upon the giving and just what we can do here. And so any giving is very much appreciated. How do you do it? You go over to our website, theheaventour.com, theheaventour.com, and over on the left-hand side, you'll see a drop-down menu. You'll have 3 lines. Click on that, and then you'll receive a receipt right away. So thank you so much. I do appreciate this. We're having our friends coming in here. Let me say hi to our different friends here. And there's Estella. Good to have you here. Oh, my goodness. It's got to be cold in Beulah, North Dakota. Lori and her brother, Tom, are also there. Thank you so much. Lori, it is Tom, right? Or is it Timothy? I'm just had a brain freeze on this. I apologize for that on there. And Donna, New Jersey. Yeah, let me tell you what. That hot cocoa came down here just right. And you got to have the right mug for it, too. Now, Brent's mug's over there, but he's not watching right now, so I can get away with this. But he's got some excellent mugs. But I ran down there, and I got a Christmas mug sitting right next to the coffee pot, and I've got that, too. Let me see who else we have. Johnny, you take care of yourself. We've got people to hold the fort till you get back. You just be careful now. And 5 below Fahrenheit. Angie reports from Fairbanks, Alaska. Sometimes I feel like a weatherman, a weather station as we talk around the country, but it's always interesting to me and wonderful. Nathan, I appreciate you so very much. I've got some studies that I've taught for years. We're talking about Herod tonight, but also something most intriguing as we go into the family line of Jesus. And so I'm going to get into this, and then in a little bit, we're going to go to our questions here. And thank you so much, friends, for being here. And as we get going here, let's take a look. Oh, you're fine. You're Timothy. I'm sorry, Lori. I don't know why I thought Tom. And Timothy, her brother, is also with her in Beulah, North Dakota, and they are enduring some very chilly weather up there. Good to have you here. My name's Brad, and this is the Heaven Tour Ministry, and this is one of our few nights as we're going through the winter months that we're having an evening time together, and then in an hour we will be over on TikTok, and we will continue on in our study there. So right now, what we're talking about is we're going through in our different studies here, and we're going into the nativity story. I'm going to give you a couple things here, and then also take some questions on heaven as well, and then insert those as well. So I appreciate this. Thank you so much, and friends, you just get your coffee and your notes. Take notes. I cannot tell you once again, during recording sessions, and I would go back in and I would check in how many people I've had to have a discussion with who refuse to go to the Bible, will go by their experience. You may have seen this. I just posted this. We have a fellow by the name of Paul that came on. He's with a particular faith base, and he says, but here's the thing. I don't need to listen to their leadership because I have had a personal experience with the afterlife. And he goes on in here as I'm looking at these comments, and he ends up saying something along the line of, oh, I'll look it up in a little bit, but it goes like that line, you are now, that his conclusion is, we are the summation of all our different lives and our destinations and our dimensions, and they all come together to make you. So basically what he's saying is he has discovered, not God, and not his leadership in his church, but he has said, reincarnation is the way. Well, Paul, then you don't follow the Bible at all. Okay, so we talked about that, and I posted that. Hebrews 9:27, it's appointed man once to die, and after this, the judgment. And then also, if there are multiple lives and identities, why is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob named by Jesus in Matthew 8:11, of whom you'll be able to sit and sup with in the feasting, in the kingdom of God? That's not a multiplicity of their different names and entities there. Besides the fact is he's talking again about earning your way, and this is a very popular thing among people. You are all the effort. Jesus is just as a figurehead. So that's all over there, and you can see that a little bit. So I've been recording virtually all day today. I had to get back in the studio after last week, and so I want to say hi. Christina, thank you for helping out. And there is the man, the myth, the legend. There he is, the umpire, that comes over here and takes care of us. The referee himself, Dan Crane, from Breeze, Illinois. Good to see you, Dan. Glad that you are here. Thank you so much. All right, let's get into our talk here. Let me move the Charlie Brown. You like it here so far? I'm getting everything together here, and the candy canes are a bit big and a little ostentatious, but you know something? In this season, we go the limit, don't you? Everything. Well, I'll share that for you a little bit later on here too. Let's get into our study, and if you would, take out your notes. Let's talk about this guy named Herod. We'll start with that. Herod, the bad guy in the Nativity story. We take a look in the scriptures, and the Magi are coming into Jerusalem in Matthew, the book of Matthew, in the opening chapter 2. And they end up going in and they go to the potentate of the area. They go to the king. His name is Herod. They said, "Where is the one who is born king of the Jews? We've come to worship him." It says Herod becomes troubled and all of Jerusalem with him. Why? Because the guy is a nutcase. He is really, and I'm not just giving you some flippant verbiage. We look at history, and this guy was much more. We tend to think of him as a sour guy in the story, and he does something terrible, and he kills some children. But this guy is even more horrible than you can even imagine that, too. So let me give you a background of Herod as we go into our story here, and then use the time wisely as we can in this. The first thing you want to know is Herod. There are a number of different Herods in the Bible, okay? This one would be known as Herod the Great. He names one of his sons Herod. So you want to make sure this is the Herod of the Jesus era, the Jesus-born era, okay? During the birth of Jesus. He would be given the title from Rome, a little bit of his dad doing a little bribery in the Senate to get that little empire known as the Palestine, as known as the outer reaches of the area where these people that are known as Jews live. And hey, a kingdom is a kingdom. So they put a little money under the table, and Rome said, that's fine. That's a far outpost. And so now we declare Herod is the king of the Jews. Now, when you go into the story, what did the Magi say? We are looking for the king of the Jews. And he's like, here we go. And they're like, you're a funny old guy. We're looking for the king of the Jews who was just born. And we want to do more than just recognize, we want to worship. Well, of course, he's hyper about this, and there are some other reasons too. But let me go into this. Well, what's he famous for? Well, the first thing is he is paranoid. Write that down, and then I want to get back to that too. He's a very paranoid character, and I'll explain it. And it gets to assassinations and such, and anybody he suspected. But you'll also see this. He is also known, he's an enigma. At the time that Christ was born, Herod, they can't figure him out. There are so many things that are puzzling, and one thing is, he is absolutely immoral. Oliver, I'll share that with you. He has absolutely no compunction to kill or to gratify himself sexually, and things like this. But also, the man could build. He was a genius in building. Now, I've had the privilege of being able to go over to the Holy Land twice, and I've seen just the remnants, the ruins of some of these places, and you stand stunned. He was something else. So the Jewish people would say, well, I can't stand him personally, but man, can he build and make us look proud. And all of the structures and everything, the amphitheater, his personal home, the temple, Herod's temple, which was just absolutely stunning, and all of these different things here. This comes from the mind of Herod. Herod, this is interesting, he was voted by the Senate and approved to be the king of the Jews, and he's not even a Jew. He's an Edomite. Edom is the term for red. He's a descendant of Esau. And what they did was, Judea is this area that no real Roman really wanted. So they're willing to give it. So he's a vassal king. He's a king over all of them, but he's not the king over all. He answers to Rome, and he's good with kissing up to Rome and making sure that they're happy so he can keep this. And so he is under their leadership, having been voted in by that too. And with this, he was able to take, we'll give you an idea. There's a place called Caesarea Maritima. if you go there. You want to look it up later on. And if you get a drone shot, you will see the docks, the wharf that was built out there. Time has crumbled the top of it, but you can see through the water there. It's magnificent. It's magnificent there. Caesarea Maritima, it's maritime. It's on the ocean. It's on the Mediterranean. But he had this built using Roman money, and it has a palatial estate for him. It actually was built into the water with a pool behind it, and it's just an absolutely amazing thing. And all of these wonderful, this edifice of glory here and this temple over here. And when Rome came in and they go, what's with the expenditure? Because here's another thing. Herod hated Jerusalem. He absolutely did. And so he'd stay at Caesarea Maritima all he could, kind of like what Pilate would do. And when he was there, and he says, well, no. I'm just the caretaker. It's really for Rome. Anytime you come down, see, I named it after Caesar. And so Caesarea Maritima was a construction of his, which was highly impressive too. But now I want to give you some things that I have in my notes here. This is absolutely amazing. He was just incredibly paranoid. And anybody he thought was ascending to his throne, even though he's a vassal king, he had them assassinated. Herod was, the ultimate bad guy here in this area. Motivated by his great paranoia, he had murdered. Now, the Sanhedrin is like the Supreme Court of Palestine, okay? It's like the Jewish Supreme Court. He had murdered the Sanhedrin. He had murdered, there were members of the Sanhedrin. He had his wife murdered. He had his mother-in-law murdered, and he also had his 3 sons murdered. He was so paranoid that anybody was taking over. This was something that I shared, I think, the last time we were together. He was so paranoid that Fournier's gangrene was eating away at him. And this is I can't even describe it here on there. You're going to have to look it up. It's beyond gross. Let me just say, you can't sit down. You get the idea? And in there, whenever the gangrene started to just chew up at him, and I do mean chewing up, you'll see. He also had contracted scabies, which is basically a mite that goes under your skin, and you can actually see where it's going under your skin. It causes sleeplessness, it causes depression, and it enhances paranoia. So he's got a lot of things going. And even the secular writers of the time said, yeah, he was bereft with a number of different illnesses which caused this, okay? So he's dying. There's nothing they can do. He knows that his death is coming. So what he did was, he took the leaders, the movers and shakers of Jerusalem, had them all come out under the guise of a meeting, but then it was also required. And they all came in there, and he had them arrested on false charges and held there, surrounded by the guards. And he told the guards that, this is just hundreds of leaders, mayors and council members and priests and rabbis and things like that, and wealthy ones too. And he said this, when I die, no one's going to care about me dying, but I will make the day of my death a day of mourning. So the minute I die, slaughter them all. And so he did, and his life ended. But the guards there, basically, I'll give you a paraphrase, they basically came in and said, we were ordered by the king to kill you all at his death. But he's not around to enforce it. So everybody go. And so they escaped that. But that's the way he was. I'll tell you more about it, but I'm going to watch the time here. I want to get you to something else here, which is very powerful. So we might talk more about Herod tomorrow here. But I want to take it to 2 things here within the scriptures, which is most powerful. And if you stay with me, you're going to find something real powerful here, okay? And it's found in the books of Matthew and Luke. And I'm going to read a little bit for you here from the scriptures and then tell you why this is most magnificent here, because it's going to answer a lot of questions here. I'm just going to read a smattering. You're going to know where I'm going. Matthew chapter 1 is the family line of Jesus. all these begats. And I always thought as a kid, why would you start such a magnificent story about Jesus with a family tree? I was probably 8. Why don't we start with a battle, or maybe, Jesus preaching something magnificent and everything, but you started with this? Well, the reason is Matthew's a Jew and he wanted the Jewish people to know this one qualifies. Every Messiah that comes along has to fit the genealogical line. And if they don't, they're disqualified. The Jewish people were very keen on family lines on that. And so he says, as a fellow Jew to fellow Jews, I know your first question, does he qualify? Well, let's get that out of the way. So that's what starts off, okay? So in Matthew chapter 1, you start in the very first verse. The book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Now, it starts going. Now, I'm not going to read it, I promise you. I'm not going to read it, but I'll just give you a smattering. Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Isaac was the father of Jacob. Jacob was the father of Judah and his brothers, and it starts going on. Judah was the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar, and it goes all the way down. So you're going down all the way through this chapter here. And when you get all the way down to Matthew chapter 1, verse 16, you're coming up to it. Mathan was the father of Jacob. Jacob was the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, by whom Jesus was born, who's called Christ. Family tree number 1 is in Matthew 1. Write that down. We're going to build on that, okay? Now, go over to Luke, and you're going to see the other one. I'm going to read you a smattering out of that, too. Now, you're going into here, and it's embedded a little bit deeper in here in Matthew chapter 3. It starts in verse 23. And it says this, and Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age, being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, who was the son of Heli, who was the son of Mathath, then the son of Levi, then the son of Nom, the son of Elsai, and it goes on and on. Go all the way down into Luke chapter 3. You'll find something fascinating. The student of the scripture will find this most powerful here. Now watch this. Which was the son of Methuselah. This is going down near the very end. You're moving backwards in time. The son of Enoch, who was the son of Jared, who was the son of Mahalaleel, who was the son of Canaan, who was the son of Enos, who was the son of Seth, who was the son of Adam, who was the son of God. Okay? So you're going to see something here. One of the things that Jesus had to qualify for was he had to come from the tribe of Judah, and he had to come from the line of David. We know this. I think every student of the scripture knows this. So there's something here which is most powerful that we need to see. When we take a look on this passage here, we want to understand that the genealogies are very, very important. And the Jews would first say, okay, what about this guy? And a false one comes along. Oh, well, they come back and they're talking as he's in the town square. Hey, Mr. Messiah to be. And this would be a false Messiah. We happen to look at your family line. You've named your parents. Well, your dad comes from the line of Benjamin. Your mom comes from the line of Reuben. You don't qualify. Kill him. And that's what would happen. And that's how they get rid of all the false. And that's what would keep people from trying to start a cult or anything along that line, call themselves the Messiah. Very, very powerful. And on this, Rabbi Hillel, who was from that time, was very, very powerfully recognized as a leader, a very powerful leader. And he was able to say that he came from the line of David. And nobody argued that because of the records here. And so all of these records were very important. But here's the thing. At 70 AD, when Israel tried the rebellion, Rome went in and trashed all their libraries and their records and the scribal offices and everything. And so there's no records after that. So we have no record. So if anybody comes along and says, well, I'm a Jewish person and I can trace my line back, well, they're not telling the truth because there's no records. They were all destroyed in 70 AD. However, we're taking a look at this. One more time, Matthew's genealogy is in chapter 1. Luke's genealogy is in chapter 3. Now, the important thing to follow this is, the second thing is this. When you look at Matthew, I'm going to use my hands for this. Matthew starts, as you heard me read, it starts in the past and it comes all the way up to the present. And then here's Jesus at the end of the family line. Luke does the opposite. Did you see this? It started in Luke chapter 3, verse 23, started with Jesus and goes all the way back past Abraham. Okay? Matthew went Abraham because, after all, to the Jewish person, that's where everything starts at the beginning, Abraham to the present. But Luke is a Gentile. He's not a Jew. And he says the salvation's open for everybody. So he takes it all the way from Jesus, all the way back to Adam, all the way back to God. That's the second part. So you see, Matthew's genealogy goes from past all the way to the present. Luke's goes present all the way to the past. Now, the third part, when we talk about this, is that you're going to deal in Matthew chapter 1 with the legal part of the genealogy, the qualifications of Jesus to be this Messiah, that there's 313 different messianic prophecies in the Old Testament, and one of these has to be that he has to be legally here by the law through the bloodline to be there, okay? So when we take a look at this, we take a look and, let me move over through my notes here. When you start with this, you're going to find out that David has, among his family, he has two different sons that are going to be in charge of this family line. The first one's going to be found out when you take a look over here through Nathan. Nathan is David's third son. And that line is it comes from King David, because Jesus, the Messiah, has to come through King David. So through Nathan, you see that line that we talked about all the way through. That's in the book of Luke, all right? And we see, and then through Solomon, which is the first son of David, that goes all the way through in Matthew. So Solomon, through the son Solomon, you have the book of Matthew's family line. Through Nathan, the third son, you see it in the book of Luke. These are both royal lines coming out of David. David has royal blood coming out of both mom and, quote, dad, legally with Joseph, and then biologically through Mary. Let me explain this now. Luke, through Nathan in the book of Luke, is Mary's line. Luke chapter 3, that's Mary's line. Matthew chapter 1, that's Joseph's line. Okay? You got the two family lines. And somebody says all these begats, and I read the King James Version. There's a very important point here, all right? So through this, Joseph is the adoptive father. So when we take a look here, does Jesus have the right to be called the king, the Messiah, through Joseph? Yes. Everything here we see in here. This is the legal aspect of it. Jesus is eligible for the Messiahship since the right comes through the father to be king. All right, it doesn't come through the mother's line. Joseph was not the biological father. You know that. I think everybody knows that too. But since he took the adoptive role as the dad, his inheritance passes on from David to Jesus. In a sense, it's kind of like Nero saw Augustus. Octavian was his name. And he brought him in. He paid off Octavian. He was actually a nephew. He brought him in, paid off his parents, and then brought him in the kingdom and groomed him to be the next Caesar. He became the adoptive father in a sense, right? Then the next thing you see here is Matthew is doing the same thing. Matthew handles the legal matter. It has to go. Anybody who goes to the throne in those days had to go through the father. So Matthew takes care of the legality of it. But there's a problem here. Now let me check the time here because this is real important. I want to give you something very intriguing here. It's called Jeconiah's curse. Jeconiah's curse. And here, in the line from Solomon, there's a man who has the name of Jeconiah. And Jeconiah is, you go to Jeremiah chapter 22, verses 24 to 30. And Jeconiah has performed a crime to God so bad. Here's the quote from Jeremiah chapter 22, 24 to 30. Okay. Quote, Jeconiah is cursed, and no son of his will ever sit on the throne of Israel, ever. Well, that's an interesting thing because that's Joseph's line. Jeconiah is cursed, and no son of his will ever sit on the throne of Israel, ever. And that goes through Joseph's line. It's known as Jeconiah's curse. Okay, so that could be a problem, right? Well, wait a minute. You're going to break the scripture in order to put Jesus on the cross? I mean, are you ignoring the Old Testament? No, not at all. Because this, no son of Jeconiah, any of his ancestry, or not his ancestry, or those following him down through the years, was ever sitting on the throne, because Jesus was not the son of Joseph. This was bypassed. What Joseph had was the legal right, but he was not the natural child. So that curse was never approached, never broached, I guess you could say, on here. The curse stayed intact and stayed, intact through there with there. So Luke goes through Mary, then through, it went through Eli, it went through Nathan, and then through David. All right? So the legal right comes from the father for the adoption. But in the case of the Messiah, it has to come from the bloodline. It's got to be actually from the bloodline. And that's why Mary's line's important. Mary, through there, taking it through David, there's no curse within her line in Luke chapter 3, nothing else. The blood of David is in the veins of Jesus here, so he's a descendant. This is interesting. He is legally the king through the line of David through Joseph. And he was the king in the natural biological sense, which is also necessary, through Mary. So you see something most intriguing in the family line. And I'll bet 98% of the Christians in this world have never heard this wonderful story about the family line. But you have in here, and it's a wonderful truth for you to be able to enjoy. This is something else too. All right, let's take a look at the time here, and let's get started. Oh, it's time for us to go right to our questions. I'm going to go ahead and scroll on back here, move over. Let's get our tree here out of the way here, and let's get started on our study here. I'm going to move on back here. Hey, thank you, moderators. Of course, we're going to have people in here wanting to disrupt, but you guys are on the ball. I appreciate this. Moving on through here, we're going to have our time in a little bit over on TikTok in about a half an hour, and then also tomorrow night we'll be on here, and then we'll continue on. I think what we'll talk about is Simeon. Talk about Simeon in the nativity story as well, and we might talk a little bit about Gabriel. All right, let me see here. Moving on down here. Thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate the moderators being here too. And DM, it's an honor. Thank you for that too. And Karen, I'm glad you like the Advent devotional. I just sent out another one to one of our winners here, and the Advent. It's still not too late to get it early in the month here. It's Heaven and the Advent through Amazon. Marie, good to see you too, and thank you that you're here, Jacobines. I appreciate you. Good to see you. Let me see. Christina is saying hi, as well as Dan. And Lori, well, that's our little Charlie Brown tree here. And I really enjoy the little tree. My daughter bought that for me and said, Dad, you got to be able to put up one too. We have a good friend from Jerusalem, Israel. It is Dasi. Good to see you, friend, from Jerusalem. It is wonderful to see you. I appreciate that too. Let me see here. Moving down to our next questions. Let's see who we have. Oh, continuing on down here, we've got a friend Lee from England. Thank you. Lee, what the true Sabbath is, it is the time whenever you go to worship the Lord. Go to Colossians chapter 2, and it talks about I think it's verse 16, in that we're not to hold anybody under any kind of, I guess you would say the term would be holding them in contempt, because that they might celebrate on a certain day. No one is to judge you on respect of the holidays or the days or anything like that. Then you go over to Romans chapter 14, verses 5 and 6. And it says, one man esteems a day above another, as they esteem them unto the Lord, they have complete liberty. So if there was somebody here who said, our church, because of a certain cultural limitation, we are meeting on Tuesdays. Or for that matter, I have a number of dear friends who are public servants in both the police force, fire, and they can't make it on Sunday. That's their job. And so they will go on a Saturday to church service or a Friday because of their obligations. And so the true Sabbath is as you esteem the day of the Lord. Look up Romans chapter 14, verses 5 and 6. DP asks a question, wondering about our perfected bodies in heaven. Are we going to be physically and mentally equal to one another? Thinking if we will play any type of sport or board games in heaven. The last part I don't have the right to give you any judgment on because the Bible doesn't say it. And I'm not comfortable with giving any speculation. It's just not, it's a slippery slope I don't like going on. Now, you're asking, will we be equal to one another? What does the Bible say? Well, there is no, we automatically, well, this guy was a gazillionaire on earth and he gets top rate. Doesn't say that. Galatians chapter 3, 27, 28 says, there's no difference in that sense between the poor person and the rich person, okay, or the slave and the rich, okay? Well, that person, they were a leader, and or this person was better looking, or this person was a male, and they're everybody's superior. There's no difference there. It also says among genders or among cultures. Well, this person's from this nation, and they're always okay. So we don't have anybody above each other, but the variety in heaven indeed is recognized. We see that. We've been talking about that so many times in the book of Exodus as the illustration of heaven, that there are woodworkers and they have a different talent. That is the call for the promised land by the metal workers and the seamstresses and the stone carvers. Everybody, there's a great variety there, but under no case does it say, well, now the stone cutters are better than the woodworkers because stone lasts. Doesn't say anything along that line. It just tells you that there are different. If you're saying physically, mentally, and equal to one another on that line, the Bible doesn't give you anything there other than the fact is we will have incorruptible bodies, which means that ADHD or Asperger's or autism and things like that are no longer part of it, disrupting the mental capacities of people. We're all together and learning in there. And of course, there is a variety. You may be gifted in an area in music, for example, and this other person is gifted in maybe creation of woodworking, things along that line. And we only go by what we do know, and those things are laid out. Again, Exodus chapter 24 and continuing on, you can see those different things along that line. But any type of sports, millennial kingdom says children will be playing in the streets, and that's about it. But that's the millennial kingdom. It doesn't say anything on the new earth or in the eternal kingdom. Let me see. Jack, would the family lines really matter once we're all brothers and sisters in heaven? Is this an earthly purpose? Yeah, Jack, did you follow it? This was for the messianic, the approval. The qualifications are met. This is strictly for the line so that you would know. Let me explain what I mean, okay? Anybody could come along and say that I'm the Messiah, and they could distort the nation, and Israel's fallen apart. Bad leadership can actually tear it. You know what I'm talking about here. And so when the Messiah comes, been prophesied all the way through the scriptures, especially in Isaiah and such, and so there had to be qualifications. How do you know that one's the one? Well, Isaiah 7:14, it has to be born of a virgin. That eliminates a lot of people. Isaiah 9:6, the person that would be coming along not only would be a child, but end up being the Prince of Peace, the everlasting Father. And then you have Genesis tells us that he is to be born from the tribe of Judah. We see in Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 9, this Messiah is going to go through Jerusalem on the back of a baby donkey in full humility. He's going to be betrayed, Zechariah 11:12, for 30 pieces of silver. All these things qualify, but the big thing is it has to be through the family bloodline, because the person that wants to be the Messiah cannot control that, all right? It has to be shown of them. There are over 313 prophecies about who the Messiah is going to be, the qualifications. And these bloodlines are very, very important. And they will continue in heaven as the approval of Jesus. Now, you're saying, does it have to do anything with us on family line? No. No, this was to show that he meets the qualifications. All right. Oh, let's see. Okay, so we had somebody named Dinesh just wanting to start fighting. Well, thank you, moderators. You use your judgment. I trust you. It's somebody. We'll have this every once in a while. Somebody just wants to come on and take over. I'm not familiar with what was going on here, but I give everything, all credit to the moderators for handling that. Okay. Okay. Um, Jones, have I heard about this new rewrite? No, totally unfamiliar with it. No, I'm not at all. And it must not be anything that is very powerful, because usually that kind of stuff comes across my desk on that. But I'll tell you what, I'll try to look it up and see. But no, haven't heard anything about it whatsoever. Let's see. As a Jewish believer here in Israel, how can I share Yeshua with my fellow Jews? Any advice? Well, the first thing I would do is have them read Isaiah 53, which has been stricken from the annual reading, and ask them, why will the synagogue not read Isaiah 53? You know, does this not give us a real insight in who the Messiah will be? I would start with Isaiah 53, my friend. Go in there. I believe that there are at least 9, and there may be as many as 11 prophecies in there. Buried in a rich man's tomb, put to death between thieves. There, no form or comeliness, doesn't come across as physically attractive. On there, you see all of these. He will be beaten with stripes on that. Okay, so I would start with that. And then please keep me in touch on the next steps. But I would start with Isaiah 53. Can you tell me why that this has been stricken from the record of all of our holy readings? We're not allowed to. Is there something dangerous about this? Isaiah 53. All right. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like I got all the way. Can you believe this? I got all the way down to the end. And so if you have a question, now's the time. And it's open if you will have a question about the Christmas story we've been going through so far. Fantastic. If you have another question here, then we'll go into it. So it's open. It's an open time right now. And then meantime, I'll just take a look at the tree here and see if we can't get this. I got the star on the top. And as I mentioned earlier, as I'm getting things together and I'm pulling things out of this box over here, and thank you, Lisa, so much. Put this under the tree. This will be used tomorrow for our very first podcast with a brand new microphone, which we very much needed. Thank you so very, very much. Let me see. Nicole, I didn't answer your question. Nicole, I didn't see your question. So why don't you go ahead and rewrite it in here? Let's see if I can't answer it for you, okay? All right, let's see. I've got some other ribbon over here and everything, and I've got plenty of ribbon to take care of. I don't know if I'll drape the tree with this or not, or this is going to go. I've got some other presents over here. I'm starting to get ready to wrap too. All right, so we'll get this together in a little bit. All right, Israelites like Nathaniel, for example, who actually studied the scriptures, knew exactly who Jesus was, their Messiah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And they saw this, and this was a great excitement here when you see this. Could you imagine being a shepherd? You know, the basically illiterate. Did you know that shepherds were so looked down upon in society at that time? I did a study on shepherds. They couldn't even, you would not take their testimony in a court of law. They were considered such low lives. They'd take care of this, as stinky as they couldn't go into public eating establishments. They were not allowed to. That's how low life they were considered. And yet they bring the most beautiful message here. Could you imagine being isn't it amazing here? All right, let's get this together. Let me take a look at what else we had here. All right. Well, thank you, Virginia. I'm working on this too. Thank you so much. Yeah. Wonderful, Johnny. I appreciate your insight on that too. And I love when we're taking a look at the scripture and then we're sharing some different things along that line too. And I've got to find some more of these, the hooks and things like that. But I'll get some here. Oh, what else we have? Oh, we had somebody else got hit. And well, we got some people wanting to attack. And that's something on a Christmas season too. It's going to be that way too. All right. Well, let's take a look. Who else do we have here? Other announcements? Or here we go. Linda. Linda says, my husband died this year. My family is so sad. Any ideas how to celebrate Christmas when everybody is brokenhearted? We also, Linda, my father-in-law, my wife is an only child. I come from, an army. There's 12 of us in the Zockel family. but my wife is an only child, and my father-in-law died on December 23rd. And so the next year, it was as a matter of fact, that Christmas was very hard. Here's what we did. We got into the scripture first of all. And I'm just going to tell you something, if it helps you out. It has nothing to do with me, but this is the reason I started the ministry years ago. Get one of my books, and I'm telling you, if you, I'll tell you what, you write me, and I'll get you a book. I'll send you a book, okay? You write me on my email. I'm going to send you a book. Spend the time, as we did, talking about the joys of heaven. Where your husband is he a believer? And if he was a believer, let's take a look at the promises of heaven on that, okay? And I know that it is a very, very hard time. But what we did was we just kept reading about heaven and the promises. And my wife, she was weeping, as we all were, but she was weeping in saying, Mom's not suffering anymore, Dad's not suffering anymore. DP, thoughts on heaven? My thoughts are irrelevant. What does the Bible say about the book of Enoch? It's referred to in the Bible, but so were secular poets, and so that doesn't give it a qualification, despite what many people assert. The book of Enoch, and the first thing that I noticed, and I must have said this about 5 times in the last 2 weeks, the book of Enoch is inaccurate. It doesn't coordinate with the Bible, and the one that stands out to me, Genesis chapter 6 makes it obvious. Noah built the ark. He and his sons and others that they employed, they built the ark. The book of Enoch says very, very clearly that the angels built the ark in heaven and then brought it down to Noah, which is inaccurate, okay? You got one problem, and it destroys the validity of the entire book. I don't even need to go any further than that. So it's just there. It's been referred to. It has fantastical things on it, but it was not considered because it contradicted the Bible. All right. God will put you back together in front of those that broke you. Jacob, I don't understand what your context is here. It must have been something. And so if you want to explain a little bit more, I don't know if you have something that you wanted to bring up. Okay. Nicole, just ask the question. Okay, it doesn't matter on this. I did not see it. If you just want to write the question, I'll be glad to answer it. If I just skipped it, just ask the question, okay? All right, and I'll be glad to do what I can to answer it. Neil said, Brad, I heard the genealogy skipped some generations to make the numbers fit. Adam, is there any truth in this? Great, Neil. Yeah, I do have that, and I didn't go into that, but here, let me explain this. I have this down in my notes as well. Okay. Luke has 77 names, okay? And they're in sections. If you go into the studies, there are the complete number of 11, all right? Matthew has 42, and you'll see them broken down into sections of 14. Now, there's no problem with that because sometimes they would do this, and this is what I have in my notes from the scholars that would know these things. This is no problem to the Jew. You will notice that you don't ever have any argument from the Jewish line that would follow this in history because of this, because it is, as long as the order is right, you're doing it for memory's sake. So let me explain what was told to me by a scholar, okay, a spiritual mentor of mine. Let's say your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was involved in a very heinous sin, something very embarrassing, okay, stole something or brought great shame on the family. You would conveniently just leave him out of the names on there. And virtually everybody had somebody within their line that they didn't want to remember. So this gave you that option. That was one thing that the Bible scholar told me on there. There were people that didn't, or else just somebody just came along and it wasn't necessary to have them. They did nothing in their life, neither good or bad, and it's just not necessary to remember them. So that's all it was. And so it wasn't on anything to make it more neat or anything like that. What I have down here, it says for memory's sake. It was just there. So there's no problem there. Okay? All right. All right, moving on down. It is, okay, we got 10 minutes here. Nicole, do you want to ask the question or not? All right, just ask the question. All right, none of us are seeing your question. Just ask the question or be done with it, okay? Does the Bible say how long it took Noah and his family to build the ark? We don't have any specific time on that. We do know it took years on there. I don't have any specific timeline on that. You have a very intriguing question, but I don't see that the Bible had anything on here. But let me just double check my notes. I don't think that we have this down here. I like this. I like this. That's a good question. It's a good question. Well, no, I'm looking here and I don't see. There's an estimation here that it was right before the time that he said that my spirit's not going to strive with man. Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, his days shall be 120 years, meaning it. And so they look on that, and that might be, well, that could be from the time, and it's 120 years till the making. That could be, but it just doesn't say specifically. That's a good question. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you, Joni. Just remembering tomorrow's Giving Tuesday, and if you're able to help out in any way, we are a 501c3. Thank you so much. Andrew, why do the Jews not recognize Jesus as Messiah when he fulfills prophecy? There's a couple reasons here. Number one, you will see that the corruption was so rampant. Well, the Bible even says in John chapter 1, 1 through 4, that the light, Jesus, came into the world, and the world, it says, they received him not. But what is most fascinating is that word for receive in the Greek. It is katalambano, and katalambano in the Greek means two things, and both of them work. They could not comprehend him. Their sin was so deep. The rebellious go, I can't even understand what he's coming from with this talk about heaven and doing right and following me and looking for Yahweh. And the second one is they couldn't apprehend him. We got to control him. We must arrest him. We must take him over. We must restrict his speech. That's part of it. Now, when you say the Jews, I want to say this, okay? Because a lot of times I hear people say, well, the Jews didn't. Well, there were many Jews that did, obviously. I would say more the Pharisees. That's the term I'm more comfortable in using. The Pharisees would not recognize Jesus as Messiah. Now, in a general sense, the Bible does say Jews, but it's always leaning toward the leadership. The Jewish leadership would not. And they just ignored it. I mean, think about it. The man born blind was receiving a sight. They did not argue that the man received a sight, but they were so spiritually corrupt, they go, tell us that this Jesus did it so we can arrest him. And the man goes, what's the big thing here? I was blind and now I see. Don't you get this? And the same thing. In the temple, when he heals the man of the withered hand, they did not deny that he was doing miracles. They realized he was cutting in on their racket. When Jesus went to overturn the money changers' tables on his first day coming into Jerusalem, that outer court had so much business, it was known in those days. Annas was the name of the high priest, who then, when he, quote unquote, retired, put his son-in-law Caiaphas in. But Annas still was the power behind the throne and making mint, serious money. He actually started the money exchanging thing, so much so that the outer court was known there as Annas Mall. It was known as his marketplace, Annas Marketplace. They actually put his name on it. They weren't even ashamed of it. That's how bad it was. So they just completely had written off. That's why, whenever the Magi came in, to give you an idea of the thing. Well, where's the Messiah? Well, if he's born, isn't he born? And the Magi, of Herod's Magi go, well, yeah, he's born. He's down in Bethlehem. It's according to a prophecy. They didn't even care. Didn't even care. Jack, does the Bible give any insight on how the families will be like during the 1,000-year reign of Christ? If you will go into Isaiah 65, you will see the farming in the communities. Isaiah chapter 40 and through 47 talk about fishermen. And then Isaiah 60, starting in verse 60, but 65 and 66, the two chapters will talk about, it'll interplay between the eternal kingdom and the millennial kingdom. And then the children will play in the streets, and then people will have their own land and nobody can take it from them. And along that line, there's just a generic reference to the joy of that. And of course, the families are to go into Jerusalem to show worship to Jesus on a regular basis. And that's when the rebellion starts. All right, let's see. Neil, thank you. Thank you for the question. I'm glad that I'll bring that too. Okay. Okay. Nicole, you have spent so much time explaining about it. Why do you not just ask the question? Okay? So I'm going to ask you one more time. If you don't want to answer the question, I'm going to respectfully ask, then please remove her, because this is just, I want to answer the question. I do not understand the conversation about this. Just ask the question. This is my third time asking you to put the question down. Lexi, what are my thoughts on Judaism? Why would it matter what this guy, this 65-year-old guy with a baseball cap and a Charlie Brown Christmas tree standing next to him, what would it matter what I think about Judaism? Okay? What does the Bible talk about Judaism? Is that what you're asking? What would the Bible say about Judaism? As with any faith, whoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved, Romans 10:13. That those in Judaism, as well as in Protestantism, as well as Catholicism, as well as in Buddhism, as well as in Hinduism, as well as in atheism, as well as in agnosticism, as well as in Baha'i faith, anybody who will then turn and answer the knocking of Jesus, Revelation 3 and verse 20, at their door and say, this is what I want. Jesus, you take over into my life. He says, I will come in. And then putting our trust and faith in him, John 3:16, then we shall have eternal life. It doesn't matter what the label is. It's the person who wants to come to Jesus Christ, give him all, and follow him. All right. Red says, I'm reading the New King James Version and I am finding it hard to understand a lot of it. There's a Bible that is easier to... Yes, you can find... I would say this. The ones that I have found both in personal reading, and also others who have them. ESV is a very, very readable and very, very addicted to the original language of Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. ESV, English Standard Version. NASB, New American Standard Bible, is also very good, as is the Legacy. Very easy to read. Try one of those, let me know, okay? Well, thank you, Andrew. I'm glad to help that, and I hope it doesn't come across as... I'm very, very careful, because I see some people try to get uppity with it, and I deal with that on a regular basis. But it's just that, I was always taught by my spiritual mentors, put the cookies on the lowest shelf where everybody can eat them. And that's the way I learned, is that people didn't, look down their nose, but they understood, as I was just wanting to learn, that they were able to bring me things and not discourage me in it. So I hope that it's brought the right way. Andrew and Nina right above. I don't see any question at all. Okay, so you can see the question. Okay, very good. Let's get to it, okay? And the question was, can the Antichrist have kids? Can he be a believer at the beginning? The first one, I'll answer the last part with that. Can he be a believer at the beginning? No, he can't. He is infused with the demonic leadership. If indeed he's not. He is of the flesh, so he is a person. He is not a demon himself, but he's demon infused. So that doesn't happen. The Bible tells you, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. That's the Holy Spirit, the Paraclete. Okay? So a believer cannot be, they can be oppressed, but they can't be possessed by a demon. So no, it cannot be a believer at the beginning. Good question. The second one is this: can the Antichrist have kids? I guess he could, on this. The Bible is completely silent on there, and then that's where I stop. So that's a conjecture that I don't have any authority to give you either way. I can tell you he cannot be a believer, because when you've come to Christ, and as it says, he might pretend. 1 John 2:16, they were among us, but they weren't of us. And when they left us, that proved they weren't of us. So that could be that he, for example, Hitler had claimed to be Catholic in order to win the vote. And as soon as he won, I was reading different articles about him in those days, and he just laughed on how he was able to use the religious community to get his way. Okay. Absolutely. All right. TJ, what was originally the Children's Bible, the Living Bible. TJ, the reason I'm not excited about that is the last word, paraphrased, and I'm not comfortable with that. If you're going to ask here on this, what we're obsessed with is word-for-word dynamics. That's why I tell you, legacy is word-for-word. Paraphrasing is taking, well, this is the general idea of what the verse says, and I'm not comfortable with that at all. You had learned that in the beginning, but now that you have grown up, as the Bible says, you've gone from the milk of the word, now you're in the meat of the word. So I would not go to anyone that is paraphrased. It is 8 p.m. It is now time, friends, for us to move on over to TikTok. We're going to move over in the opposite direction that we do in the mornings. We usually go from TikTok to YouTube. So I'm going to get ready and come on into there as soon as I am able to just move everything on over. Get yourself, reheat your coffee or your cocoa, and I should be on in like 60 seconds here. Thank you, moderators. You've done a wonderful job. This has been very, very enjoyable this time. And so I'll stay here by the fireside. We'll go over to TikTok, and then we'll get going on our talk about the heading on in to another part of our Christmas story here, Nativity, and take a look at it. And maybe we'll be talking a little bit about Gabriel and such in our next hour, okay? God bless you. Take care. If I don't see you, then tomorrow morning, don't forget, I'll be here at 9:30 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. And then we have at 8:30 in the morning on TikTok, okay? God bless you. Take care. I'm heading over to YouTube right now. Go into YouTube in the search engine and put The Heaven Tour with Brad. The Heaven Tour with Brad. I'll go live in about 60 seconds. Take care. God bless you. Moderators, great job again.